What do you mean an error occurred on Periscope?
I don't know. I just heard the Periscope whistle on my phone, so I know we're live.
Woo, we're live. We're live except for Periscope. Okay. All right. So I'm going to assume we're live on YouTube. So welcome. Best of the rest. Come on, Jay. I need that announcer voice. You're letting me down here. We got a guest tonight.
Welcome to Best of the Rest. As usual, Jay and Dennis, but we have a guest tonight, Eric from Kowabunga Comics.
Hello. I will be the rest tonight. You guys can be the best.
Yeah, well, yeah, we got a long way to go to that to be the best, but we should call ourselves mediocre of the rest. I guess.
Mediocre. How about randomly on weekday nights of the rest?
Yeah,
there you go. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
I don't know. My work schedule, the new dog, and everything has just been. I have no schedule. Well, yes, I have a schedule. It just revolves around all that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So anyway, I am going to try to sit here and fix some of these technical difficulties with the Periscope. I will participate in the conversation. But lead on, Jay.
Okay. Well, glad you're with us, Eric. We really are, and always good chance.
Thanks.
Enjoy getting a chance to talk with you. So I kind of wanted to start out. Of course, we know all about the shutdown and of Diamond and how it affected, but how, without giving numbers, I know, of course, I don't want any financial numbers, but kind of what effect did the COVID shutdown have on Kowabunga?
It kind of hit us in a couple of different ways, and it's interesting to talk about it when you're step back and look, because when you're going through it day by day, obviously the focus is always keep the business moving, maintain some level of profitability, those kinds of things. But when you stop and you think about the fact that the store was closed, for us, it was closed for about 7 weeks, where we couldn't have anyone physically in the store. And then you layer on top of that the fact that you've got your distributor is shut down, so you're not getting any new product. And it wasn't just the comics distributor, Diamond. It was also our distributors that handle things like Wizards of the Coast, so our Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons, Pokemon USA, basically everything. Supplies, the supply chain for bags, boards, card top loaders, comic top loader, all of that stuff coming from China was completely disrupted. So it really threw wrenches into a lot of our normally scheduled events. But what it forced us to do, or maybe I guess the better way of saying it is what it gave us the opportunity to do, was go and attack some things that had just didn't have time to do. So when you're getting your comics every week and you're getting the sale racks prepped, you're buying collections. For us with mail order, you're packaging up and shipping out. You don't have as much time to go really deep into your back room, right? You're going to grab the stuff in a collection that is a key wall book. You're going to grab things like your Amazing Spider-Mans, your Batmans, your X-Men, things are going to go out of the back issue bin. And a lot of the time, the rest of it kind of sits in the back. And so what COVID shutdown gave us was an opportunity to really go into the back and pull things out. We did spin up a real quick and dirty shopping page. You're able to put some product on, mostly newer stuff, just as a way for people to have something to choose as an option. We had trades. We kind of ran a 6 for $30 trade deal, stuff like that. But the bulk of what we found in the back that we were putting up for sale online, we did through eBay. And it actually turned out to be very fruitful and rewarding. I don't think at the pace that we were going with eBay, we probably wouldn't have been able to sustain it for more than a year, just because we have to maintain and knowing that things resumed. But for those 7 weeks that we couldn't have anyone in the store, and even the couple of weeks beyond that Diamond wasn't shipping, we maintained a pretty good sales pace, to the point where we are close to parity with last year's sales, a little bit behind, but close to parity, which is actually quite impressive when you consider we still are unable to run any in-store gaming. And that's not a state thing. That is, and we're from Wisconsin, so our governor's got certain rules out there, but that's actually from Wizards of the Coast and Pokemon USA. We're not allowed to hold sanctioned gaming events, at least for the foreseeable future. because the risk of COVID is too high, and they don't want their product to be associated with a COVID spread. Some stores are having non-sanctioned gaming. We are not willing to take that risk right now. So, but yeah, the COVID shutdown definitely was an interesting experience, but it also reinforced a few things for us. It reinforced that we need to force ourselves to take better care of going through certain in our back room, try and process our collections more thoroughly. I mean, we do a good job. We get the bulk of stuff out, but you always have that 20% that goes back there. And then it also reinforced that we need to officially get our mail order online website up and running 100%. So that's been a huge focus for the last 3 months. We've engaged a company to help us with that, and we're getting close. So yeah, all in all, it was different, but we're stronger for it, I think, and we didn't lose as much ground as some of our peers or competitors did.
Well, I found
Very
that
good.
interesting. I didn't realize that would affect like bags, boards, top loaders,
hmm
and all of that.
Yeah, the supply stuff is still an absolute train wreck. You can place orders for stuff and it may not come for 5-6 weeks because everything's just been held up. Most all supplies are pretty much made in China. The only supplies that we've been able to get at a regular pace, and even then it's still a slow pace, is eGerber, so the Mylights, the Mylar products, fullbacks and halfbacks. But most people don't want to pay that price for those supplies. Most people just want like your BCW or Ultra Pro bags and boards, and those have been a struggle to keep in stock. So we're ordering more frequently, just kind of squirreling away a little bit, hoping that things resume. But if they don't, we'll have a net to fall on.
Ooh, I do say I do like some Silver Age books and a Mylite.
hmm
I
They make the colors
Mylites-
pop.
Yeah, you know what? What is that? Why do Mylites make the? Is it diffracting the light? Is it amplifying the light?
I couldn't tell you the science behind it other than it makes them look pretty.
I know it. They are beautiful in Mylites, and I guess
Yep.
that's the secret to a con. Put all your wall books in Mylites.
That's what we do in our store predominantly. So especially our higher priced books, they always go in MyLight for reasons. One, they show much better, and number two, the MyLight is a much more archival type of supply. So generally, if you're buying a product that you're paying $100, $200, $300 for, the idea of putting it in a cheap bag and board that you're going to have to replace after 4 or 5 years potentially isn't as appealing. So we'll put it in a higher quality bag and board, and then it's a lot better.
Wait a second. You said replace after 4 or 5 years. So you mean my comics that I put in bags and boards 20 years ago that I haven't changed out are doomed?
Not doomed per se. What you'll probably notice, a couple of things will happen is you look at the front of one of those bags and it could start to be really ripply. And the other thing is you can get bags that stick together because the plastic on them it's not archival plastic. It's just kind of an open pore plastic. So you can notice that, you can recognize it. Most collectors, it doesn't bother. It doesn't make a difference. They really just want it to be with the board, keeping it firm and straight. So it's not as big of a deal. But if you're talking pretty pricey books, I would definitely spend the money and invest in some Mylars to just keep them a little bit more secure.
Yeah, I've got a few that I kind of reserve for those special books.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I tell you one of the things I found. I think Jay and I've had that discussion with storage. As you can see behind me, I have a few long boxes. Is that the only option out there that you know of? Is like either cardboard long boxes or those plastic long boxes? It's I'm really tempted to do something with some plastic totes, but they outgas and you don't want those on your books. But
yeah,
I need a better mass storage.
I tell you though, the thing with totes is they're very unwieldy and hard to carry when you put any sort of volume in them, and the plastic snaps a lot. We get a lot of things in totes that the totes are just destroyed. The other that a lot of people I see start to shift to is one of a couple options. One of them is just getting simple things like Billy bookcases from IKEA, like what's behind me. Oops. that way, and literally standing their comics up like library books in them, and then putting little out dividers that tell you what series volume you're in. That's one thing that I'm noticing a lot of people starting to do. Another thing is using different kinds of file cabinets. So there's the tall, multi drawer units where you can fit usually 2 rows of comics in them, and then you've got the nice pull-out drawer. Or there's the shorter, I think they're like doctor's office style, where you've got the 2 bigger drawers that pull out. I actually see a lot of comic stores starting to go to those, where they'll put a number of those drawers together and then lay long boxes on the top for their back issue bins. And those drawers can hold a lot of weight, so they're definitely they're built to handle that.
So, hey, I just noticed I was actually in the private chat, and I didn't notice that people were chatting in there, so that's why I'm just all of a sudden now doing some of the chat stuff. So,
Right.
welcome to the chat, everybody, tonight.
This is Craig, who's actually Dewan. I don't know why he's got Craig on his name, but it's fine.
Well, that's... we won't go into those. What happens at C2E2 stays at C2E2.
Right.
I wasn't sure if it was some sort of like comic witness protection thing.
He did say he's recently switched to Kowabunga, and he's impressed. Well, of course he is. I mean,
thank you.
Can't be anything but impressed with Kowabunga. So,
well, you see, the thing is, though, you got to see it. You got to see it live in person. There you go. Oh,
well, that is an ultimate goal. Well, there you go.
So I think, yeah, we've actually added that to our annual trek, which we hope is not in jeopardy in 2021 of, leaving a day early, swinging by Wisconsin on our way to Chicago.
Get some cheese curds and have some fun discussion over some good beer while we'll discuss recent searches for comics. And then obviously, yeah, you guys usually come up and spend a good couple hours in the store. And the invitation's open to anyone, really, especially if you're from out of town. If you let us know you're from out of town and you're coming, we're happy to roll out. It may not always be read, but we'll engage you and take you around and let you know what's going on and share Kowabunga and share Wisconsin with you.
Well, I guess you're kind of going to do that with your online store that's coming out soon. So
we're going to push hard with that for sure.
So does that mean everything in the store is going to be on the website, or is it going to be the store's one inventory, the website's another inventory? It's slightly mixed, because that's going to be a job trying to get everything up there. And the only reason I say that is because every time I go there, I just love standing up by the register and looking up and seeing all those absolutes and artist editions and everything on the wall up there and just drooling. And so one of these, I just find it'd be more if the nights when I'm sitting here doing this, I might order a few more if they're actually there on the digital store.
Well, a lot of those types of things, yes, we'll plan to get those listed on the store, the digital store. That is, when you're thinking about things like wall books, that's going to be a later arriving thing, because our focus behind the stores, and actually our website for the new online store, is not going to be Kowabunga Comics. It's going to name, and it took us a long time to decide that. And the reason we decided is because we want to identify Kowabunga as a destination and the mail order as a service. We're a service provider, and that service of discounts for items. It's the same people, it's the same location, but 2 different unique, distinct experiences. So we will be putting things like trades, hardcovers, the artist editions, artifact editions, those types of things. Some of the figures, we'll definitely be listing those on the web store. But when it comes to things like our back issue bins and our wall books, it'll take us a little bit more time there, because those are things that make our store a destination. Those are the kinds of things where we don't want to turn over as quickly, because it helps us keep our customers coming in. So it'd be a little bit of a process. And then to answer your question about how inventory reached, what we're actually going to do is we have a certain amount of shelf copies that we keep for the store off of new books, trades, whatever it be. And what we're going to do then is order, obviously, for the online store as well. And that excess inventory, after the orders are shipped and sent out, that excess inventory will be allowed to be for sale online. And if our store runs out, our store will actually have an account with our web store. Our physical store will have an account with our web store where we can go and place an order in our web store to get the books out of inventory, and we get a pick list of what the store needs, and then we can just move them out. So maintain inventory that way. So we're not just pulling books from the back and then we've got 10 listed online and we actually only have 4. And so that's kind of what we decided to do, is try and make it as possible, just like if we were ordering from a distributor.
Yeah, but it's still not the same on there. It's just, I just love going through long boxes in the dollar. I remember when there used to be 25-cent bins or 50-cent bins and other dollar bins, just sitting there going through box after box, just flipping through and getting stuff. And you just can't get that experience online. Just like you can't really read a comic digitally.
Well, if it makes you more excited or more frustrated, I guess, either way, we are still growing, and we actually leased some space in the door to us. So we actually have 60 long boxes of dollar books in there that for special events or people that we know that want to go in what we call the garage, we have all of those dollar boxes in there as well. So we will need to add to that. Guys come up, there will be even more dollar books to dig through if you would like.
All right, so okay, Jay, we're gonna have to leave 2 days early.
I was gonna say, because we're looking at probably 8 to 10 hours of long box diving to get through all that.
You guys got to divide and conquer. You got to start on opposite sides and work together.
Well, that's what we did. In fact, last past year, Dennis found more stuff for me than he did for himself.
I noticed that.
Because he'd be looking at, hey, you need this?
What'd you get me? What'd you get me?
Well, you're just much more, have a much lower number of things. Like, you're not going to find an X-Men #1 in dollar boxes, so,
I could find a reprint.
Yeah, I might find a reprint.
You might find a reprint, depending. Yep.
So, yeah. I actually need to focus my collection. I've been I got focused, and then I got off of it, but I got to get that X-Men run complete before there's a hint of them in the movies. Because for some reason, and I think we've actually had this discussion, not online or anything like that, and Jay and I have had a discussion, I do not understand how characters in movies make the books go up, because I don't think that increases the market of comic book buyers. So
it actually does.
It does?
It does, yeah. The best example I have of that is prior to COVID, for my real job, my 40-hour-a-week real job, I used to have to travel to New York City once a month, and I made a routine out of going to a couple of comic stores out there, and I would chat with one of the store owners and kind of see what his trends were. And what he basically told me is, once the Marvel movies kicked up, being in New York City, his shop is probably about a half-hour walk from Wall Street, and he said a lot of those young investment guys that were working on Wall Street, they would come over and they would buy those key issues. Price didn't matter to them, because they were going to buy it and they were going to keep it, and they knew it was going to go up in value, because those characters are going to be my generation and the generation behind me. They're going to be the notable things that carry value moving forward. I wouldn't be shocked and surprised if we start to see things like some Silver Age appearances that right now are held at a high value by middle-aged and older collectors, because they remember when those kind of first came out and those characters hit. I wouldn't be surprised if those are to wane in value, and you start seeing Bronze Age, especially Marvel, start to become the real hot books in the next 10 to 20 years, because that's what culturally people are aware of and what they know. So it doesn't necessarily mean that there's more people coming in to buy new issues of comics. It definitely means, though, that there are people out there looking for their favorite character. Similar to sports cards. You may not like, I'm a hockey guy, so I'm sorry, I have to go with hockey analogies, because I really ignore most every sport other than that right now. But maybe you're a big Wayne Gretzky fan, but you weren't a fan of the Oilers when Wayne Gretzky played for the Oilers. But you still wanted that Gretzky card for the Oilers. Same thing with comics.
Okay, I can see that. So it's more of an investment. And I mean, it is a limited supply going back there. Yeah.
Right.
And I like the bronze, but and I've actually been getting more bronze stuff, but I've actually been focusing more on like DC bronze, especially like the horse. Well, is it really horror? You know, like the House of Mystery, House of Secrets, Ghost, and things like that. I don't know. For some reason, I've just gotten into that, and I
Yeah.
really think the Bronze Age is underappreciated right now. But you know, is I think that's where DC really shines. I think Marvel has the Silver Age. You know, DC kind of has the Bronze Age. You know, that's when Batman went from campy to, you know, kind of more of the Batman we know now. Um, you've got all that DC stuff, which I like to think of as like pre-Vertigo,
Sure.
like the House of Mystery and the things and stuff like that, and Swamp
Right.
Thing and all of that.
Yeah, the
And
Alan Moore Swamp Thing.
yeah, it's like the Marvel stuff, you know, like stuff like Ghost Rider and some stuff like that from the Bronze Age just doesn't seem as I don't know, impressive to me. I don't know, because it just seems they really all their characters shined in the Silver Age.
Yeah, it's kind of hit or miss. I think what's going on with the Bronze Age Marvel stuff is that's just where the Bronze Age and then the, I guess, early modern age is where a lot of the movie content came from. And so that's what's driving that up. Obviously, Ultimate Fallout with Miles Morales has just been going bonkers, starting to stabilize now in price. But even things like Guardians of the Galaxy, those movies were really based on the Abnett and Lanning, you know, the DNA Guardians books, not the stuff that came in the Silver Age or previous to that. You know, so it's about where the movies are being centered from. And I think the big thing with DC is I think their Silver Age is so strong because that's where a lot of the big villains came out of, like especially for Batman. You think of things like Scarecrow, you know, those kinds of things started to pop up and appear. You had Neil Adams at the tail end of the Silver Age and going into the Bronze Age. And so I think because Marvel has so many current characters in the pop culture sphere right now, the DC Bronze Age is largely undervalued and I think underappreciated. Whereas the DC Silver Age had for a long time been the really, really strong one, aside from some amazing Spider-Man issues that came out in the Silver Age, you know, kind of that early run of Spideys where you had your first Cravens, your first Gwen Stacy, stuff like that.
Yeah, and it just still amazes me how FF was like so strong in the Silver Age up to about maybe all the double digits up to 99 or so. But you know, since then there's been, you know, what can you say is a memorable Fantastic Four issues after you got past really 52, honestly.
Yeah, there's a few, but it's definitely not nearly as much as, you know, basically the first dozen, and then you get into 48, 49, 50, and then 52.
So some good stuff there and all that. So, but anyway, so
and
so
a lot
when
of
did
that stuff too, like, oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead, because I was going to totally
just
go
gonna
a different direction.
Okay, I was just gonna, like, FF is one that most people always question. Like, I don't understand why FF is so special. Why so many people hold it in such high regard. And I think part of it is you had to be there for some of it, because I think the way that it was written was of the time. And I think it's very funny. So James, for those that don't know, James is the other half of Kowabunga Comics. He kind of likes Ben Grimm. I got into FF later, and I kind of find Grimm to be a little annoying because it's like, good Lord, man, you are like Eeyore just built out of stone. Like, just always, oh, she doesn't like me. Oh. And it's one of those things where I think if you were of the time and you were reading the books at the time, it really resonated, and the tone is there. For me, it doesn't capture me quite as much. I'm a huge Silver Surfer guy. I have a tattoo on my leg of Silver Surfer, so I'm pretty invested in that character. So obviously 48, 49, 50, those are huge books for me, the coming of Galactus. But yeah, so I kind of see both sides of the spectrum. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I kept looking at the 48, 49, and 50 back in the mid 90s, late 90s, and I wish I'd have pulled the trigger then. So I may have missed my boat on those. So, but anyway, so have you always been a comic guy, or did you get into it late?
I got into it late. I was a funnies guy. Let's go with that. I grew up in the country. And yes, we do have country in southern central Wisconsin. I grew up in the woods, and there were no comic book stores close to me, and my parents didn't really understand what comic book stores were. It wasn't a part of their life growing up. It wasn't a part of mine. So my comics that I got were basically the Sunday funnies, the comic strips. I have fond memories of my grandmother looking at Garfield and Foxtrot and stuff like that with me. And then when I got into grade school, we had the Scholastic book fairs. and they would always have like the Calvin and Hobbes collections and the Garfield collections, Far Side. And so I got those. I really got into those. And it wasn't until I met my, at the time, girlfriend, now wife, and she and her brother really got me into kind of the idea of comic books. He was a huge fan of actual cartoons and movies and stuff like that. And so my wife's like, hey, let's just go and check out a convention. Let's go check out some comic stores. And I was instantly hooked. I think part of it was I was a kid who got into sports cards, baseball, basketball, and hockey, not so much with football. But I really got into sports cards because I liked the mix of collectible, and I liked the fact like I would memorize stats on the back of cards, and my mom was always like, why do you have to memorize those? And I just said, I don't know, because I like it. And so it was just something about that. But I got away from the sports cards because they were overproduced when I was, in the late 90s, and got away from it. So I just kind of ignored those. And then when comic books came, I was like instantly hooked, and I started really getting into them, both reading and kind of understanding the market, listening to a lot of podcasts. And then the opportunity came where the store Kowabunga was up for sale essentially, and the owner was like, well, Eric, you kind of understand technology and business, and James, you understand retailing. You've sold at conventions for 20 plus years, obviously, and neither of us had ever met one another before all of that. So it clicked along pretty quick for me, and now I live in it all over.
Yeah, I didn't get into it till college. I was the same. I grew up in the country, and it's like, comic store. How can you have a whole store that's just comics? I don't think I saw my
Garfield.
Yeah, I don't think I saw my first comic store until I was 19, 20.
Same for me. Yeah.
So
Well, they didn't really have comic stores when I was a kid. They were still, it was by the time I was getting into comics, it was right at the cusp of the end of the indirect market and the start of the direct market.
And then and then they went to talkies.
Yes, they went to talkies. They invented dirt.
That was novel. That was a novel thing.
Yeah, that was a novel thing. But I'm like you, Eric. I mean, I started out with the funny papers, and for me, it was Dick Tracy. I used to I followed and read Dick Tracy, and not only just on the weekend, but also the daily black and white comics strips. But
no, I mean,
we didn't
I grew
splurge
up on
for the daily paper. We just got the Sunday one.
Yeah, I grew up on the Sunday comics also. I loved them, and like Calvin and Hobbes. I still think I've got somewhere stashed away that issue of the local paper that had the last Calvin and Hobbes in it, because I knew it was coming, and I saved it and everything. And I actually got the collected edition, and it's, I think I read through it every couple of years. So yeah, they just I don't even know. I haven't got the paper in I don't know how long, and I don't know how much the comics has even changed here over the past 10, 15 years.
I actually just got back from a vacation to New Hampshire to see some family on Monday, and my aunt and uncle who we were visiting, they had a Sunday paper, and I was like, holy cow, there's a comic section still. And they had Garfield, they had Foxtrot, they had Prince Valiant, and I just remember being a kid, and the way my grandmother would do it is we would sit down together if I was over at their house, and we would start at the top and work our way to the bottom of the page. And I just always remember groaning when we got to Prince Valiant, because it was like, I don't understand anything that's going on here. It's 2 panels and 4,000 words. Now I look at it and it's kind of like, okay, if I knew what happened like the previous 3 days, I can really start to get into it, but you really have to have that daily momentum. But yeah, we just, Blondie and High and Lois and all of that stuff. So Family Circus. We had, when I was real little, I actually have a book here somewhere, but when I was really young, some of the first ones I remember is we actually had Felix the Cat was in our Sunday paper, which was awesome. I loved Felix.
I had a question on what you were talking about when you said when Kowabunga came up for sale. Was it already called Kowabunga when you bought it?
Yes.
So you kept the name.
We did, yeah.
I'm curious about that name, because Kowabunga is a Southern California surfing term, and there's not a lot of surfing in rural Wisconsin. So.
Yeah, actually, I gotta stand up and grab something here quick. So Kowabunga came about more along the lines of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But to not infringe upon trademark, it had to not have the C. So it got the K,
Right.
and we got the Incredicow out of
The
it.
credit account. Yes.
And this one is a special Incredicow. I don't know if you can see it, but in gold on there is Kevin Eastman's signature. So we are officially a Kevin Eastman approved Kowabunga.
Nice.
Nice. I didn't realize Kowabunga was. I mean, they invented that or they trademarked that.
No, I mean, it was just one of those things where the previous owners wanted to use a cow because they're from Wisconsin. Kowabunga was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles term, but they were unsure of how deep into things legality-wise they wanted to get, being comics and Kowabunga. And so, and with Nickelodeon owning the rights to it, it was kind of like, well, we can't really go up against the Nickelodeon attorneys, so we might as well just play this one safe. So that's kind of where the K came from, just to be safe.
Right.
But yeah, the store was up for sale, and pretty much what we bought was the brand name, the subscriber list, and a limited inventory.
Interesting.
Yep.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice. So
You guys didn't get to see our original location, did you? You've only been to the big one.
Right.
Yeah, so that one is, I think it's about 3,500 square feet of retail space, but before that we had like 800 square feet of retail space, and it was much smaller. So,
man, how'd you fit that in? Because I mean, and I mean, it's going to sound like a plug and all that, but
yeah.
it's like I've never been to a place where it's like you've got all my like geekdom nerd stuff there, and it's got its own section, and the section that I'm like surprised and that I never see anywhere else is the classic Dungeons and
The
Dragons
old modules.
section.
Yep.
I love that. I mean, that's one of the things. It's like I just actually finished getting the last module I needed for my Dragonlance to get all of those about 4 months ago, and I'm really looking to go back and get some of the hardcovers that I've missed or gone missing. It's like I need a not a Fiend folio. What's the one that's got the first edition that's got the Cthulhu and what is that? Demigods and deities and demigods?
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, deities
yeah.
and demigods.
Yeah, I want to find that book where the first print where it's got Elric and Cthulhu in it before they got.
I kind of feel bad because I sold one of those on our eBay page during the COVID shutdown.
Oh well, it's opportunity, but yeah,
we'll get them again.
That,
it's something we look for.
I mean, you've got that. You've got the miniatures. You got magazines. You got comics. You got the all those the artist editions and.
We do a lot, pretty much anything pop culture. The two things that we do little to less of are T-shirts and Funko Pops. We do have Funko Pops, but we don't. Our store isn't have Funko Pops because I don't know. We just Funko Pops aren't something that speaks to James and I too much. So we satiate our customers who want them, but we don't go too deep on them. But yeah, we have new comics. We have obviously the back issues, the dollar books, the wall books. We have trades, hardcovers, the artist editions. We have action figures. We have statues, busts. We've got the retro video games. We have mostly rock and metal vinyl and traditionally classic rock and vinyl stuff, classic metal and rock vinyl. We do actually have some new vinyl for video game soundtracks that are coming out. So like Cyberpunk put out a vinyl. So we've got that one, Red Dead Redemption 2 vinyl, some original screenplay vinyls that have come out and been repressed. We do posters. We actually have kind of a horror section. So if you're, Freddy, Jason, that kind of stuff, we have those kind of figures. We do Magic cards, Pokemon cards. We don't really do Yu-Gi-Oh! It's not something that's really ever done well for us. So yeah, we kind of try and hit most of pop culture. D&D, obviously, we talked about. Warhammer is a big thing for us as well, which is kind of what we would consider our top of the line table gaming. We've got Star Wars X-Wing, so we have some people that do that. So we try and cover a lot of bases, and we try and dedicate certain areas of the store to everything. When you guys were last at the store in February, we didn't have our new back issue racks, right? Because I think, Jay, you made a comment about oh dang, we missed the back issue racks by like a month because of the shutdown.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Yeah. So we now, when you guys walked in, there used to be the Marvel stuff was in the wooden boxes on the left, and the DC stuff was on tables to the right. And where those tables on the right were is now 3 levels. So Marvel wraps around, and then we've got DC. We added like 72, I think at this point, 72 long boxes of priced back issues. So, and we're looking to add on the backside of that another 20-foot section of 3 levels to keep getting more out. So, yeah, it's fun.
Jeez.
I know it. I know. We may have to skip C2E2 altogether and just spend 4 days at Kowabunga next year.
We'll just have a Cowacon.
If no C2E2, then there you go. You've got a replacement.
Well, that's true. We know. Okay. Next thing.
Yeah.
As if comic shops didn't have enough to deal with the shutdown and COVID, DC, in the middle of all this, decided they're going to end their relationship with Diamond and seek other distribution methods, mostly between UCS and Lunar.
Yep.
And how's that affected you? I know it's got to be more work on your part, but kind of what did that decision do to you, and how have you tried to handle it and come to grips with it?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a gut punch because the timing was rough, right? We're in the middle of a shutdown, and the whole industry kind of had hit a pause button, and DC decided they were going to make a big change and hit the resume button. And there was a lot of frustration, I think, industry-wide from retailers, and we kind of waffled day by day. Monday we're frustrated and angry at the decision, and then Tuesday we've accepted it and we've gone okay, and then Wednesday we're like, son of a, now our ordering system won't work because we use Diamond's platform, their point of sale system, and it integrates with their ordering mechanisms and their pull list programs, and it's like, well, now that's shot. And so it's just kind of like this day by day roller coaster. And it came out less than 12 hours after UCS and Lunar were announced that UCS was Midtown and Lunar was DCBS. And that sent shockwaves through the retailing community as well, because now you've taken people who were your competition and you've given them the keys to the castle.
Right.
It would basically be like giving Uber all of the keys to Yellow Taxi in New York City. Is kind of what it felt like, right? They gave all the access to everything. So there was some initial concern about like, well, now our 2 biggest competitors are going to see our order numbers, and they're going to know what everybody in the nation is ordering. They're going to know how to attack us. And one of these new distributors, their retail branch did start attacking early adopters of their services as a distributor. Nice, Blue Moon. I have amaretto, which you can't see in my.
Well, of course.
Well, I've got.
Sorry, I didn't mean to disrupt. What?
It's from High West, Utah. I get whiskey from Mormons.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to disrupt. I mean,
no worries. And they started carpet bombing their new account stores with ads for Midtown and Lunar for DCBS. So it's just a little bit of kind of it was a rough patch, let's just say. But for us, we found a system that works. And I have to say, we went with UCS, and I'll be honest with that. We went with UCS, and the reason was twofold. First and foremost, we chose UCS because they have been managing Marvel's mail order subscription for a very long time. So they have been in a relationship with a large publisher as a service provider. So we felt confident that if there was an issue, DC could take them to task and Midtown would know instinctively how to respond. Secondly, and probably more importantly, we knew that adding this branch of work onto Midtown would cause the need for hiring. And we figured that New York City and the surrounding area had a much larger opportunity for hiring resources than Fort Wayne, Indiana did. So we just kind of made the decision to say, we're going to go with UCS. We feel like they're in a better position. Neither one was really in a perfect or great position, but we felt of the two, UCS was better positioned to take on the workload. And I think after talking with our local retail competition, who are also mostly our friends, we were the only ones that went with UCS, and we are the only ones that have yet to have any issues with getting our product. So we feel validated that we made the right decision. That's not to say that Lunar hasn't stepped up its game, because they have. There haven't been as many problems as of late, but for us, we went with UCS. And we found early on we had a couple of issues with, like, instead of getting 12 of a variant, we got our A covers plus 12 of the 12 more A covers. And we were able to get an email right away and contact them. They fixed it within the next week. Our books were back, or the ones that were missing were back. So they've been really good for us. I wouldn't say that their technology is newer than Diamond's, because Diamond, I think, is still based on, like, I don't know, punch cards. But Diamond has a lot more functionality than UCS does at this point. So it's kind of one of these, but no, we've got a system that works. UCS is okay. The people that are really affected the most, and we are to an extent, but the people who are affected the most by this are the people who kind of hit a certain, there's a minimum threshold of orders you have to do through Diamond to maintain an account. And it's always been a point of discussion to say they need to increase that dollar limit, because you're encouraging, in effect, buying clubs. So 2-3 people getting together and having enough of a minimum order to keep their Diamond account open. However, I'm happy to say that you could do that, and I can still give you a better discount. Yay. But nonetheless, there's stores that do order close to the minimum threshold, and losing DC's business affects their total orders on a monthly basis, and it has put some of them under that minimum threshold, and therefore their Diamond account was closed. So they lost access to Marvel, Image, everything, which you can say is either good or bad. I've heard two different sides to that story, and I'm not going to weigh in either way, but that's an unintended consequence that has happened, and it's rough.
So you had a choice, because I remember hearing some stores didn't have a choice depending on where you were in the U.S.
Yeah. So when it first rolled out, and that was for, I think there was 3 weeks where DC had product that was basically second print, or like the Lolo Woods, that pocket of titles, the Joe Hill books. There we go, Hill House Comics. Mm-hmm. Those were the only ones that were coming out for those 3 weeks, and then second prints and third prints. And they told us that if we wanted access to those books, we had to go with their new distributors. And if we were going to do that, if you were west of a certain point, you had to go with Lunar, and if you were east of that point, you had to go with UCS. When they finally completely ripped the Band-Aid and we're going back to full production, they said you have a choice. We did create an account with both, because we weren't sure. We thought we'll start with one, and if we need to, we at least have everything taken care of and we can jump to the other. But thankfully, we haven't had to do that. So, yeah. But we did, when we jumped in, we had the choice.
Okay. So I do have one question, and you can answer this as ambiguously as you want. Do you have to handcraft your spreadsheet for the orders every month, or do you have an automated way of doing that?
Mix the two. It's a mix of the two.
Okay.
I owe a massive debt of gratitude to John Mayo, comic book page, John Mayo. He built a Python program that handles the creation of that spreadsheet. There are certain input files that I have to prep each month that have like price overrides, discount overrides, bundles, stuff like that. I have to manually put those together, but then the script that he built runs and saves me, hours and hours of time to put it together and actually make that single spreadsheet. So I owe, like I said, a huge debt of gratitude to John for doing that for me. But yeah, so I have that. And then the cool thing is with the website, the company that's been working on that, they've actually created a little bit of a script add-in process that runs to create that spreadsheet that also kicks out basically a big JSON file that gets uploaded into our website. So I don't have to go through any extra steps or processes. I can just generate it like I normally do, and the website automatically gets fed the information, and then it goes out and grabs the images and applies them where they need to be.
Yeah, I just love that spreadsheet, and I can just appreciate being a spreadsheet guy. I can just appreciate what has to go into making that. And I think we just actually got our new one today. In fact,
Yeah, probably about 12:30 this morning. I think.
I was going to say I noticed the timestamp on that thing. It was like 12:30 a.m.
Yeah.
No.
Never go on vacation. That's what I can say.
Is that Python? That Python procedure, does it use that? Do you use that to create the weekly FOC list as well, or is that?
Nope, that one I do fully manually.
Wow.
Oh, that can be long. Actually, why is some weeks the FOC large? Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious. I guess they don't evenly distribute the books, but it just seems like some weeks you get a really short FOC, and then some weeks you get just a long one where it's almost like it feels like it's almost a whole previews itself.
Yeah, so the short ones are going to be ones that are prepping for fifth week, a fifth Wednesday of the month, because those are usually like your annuals or your skip weeks for your smaller publisher. So that's when it gets shorter. When it gets longer is generally that March through September timeframe when you have a lot of new launches. Most of the time they don't launch stuff late in the fall or into the early winter. So it's usually, Marvel will have 15, 20 covers for an issue 1, and they spread that across 3 issue 1s. So that can make it go long. And then additionally, you see towards the beginning of the year, a lot of your prestige and premiere type collected editions get solicited early because those take 6 to 8 months to get the orders in and then printed because of the hardcovers, the bindings, and they try and deliver those in a late October through early December timeframe, whether it's for Christmas gifts or things like that. That's typically when people tend to buy those higher priced ones. So that's why you see kind of those peaks and valleys. The nice thing is with the FOC, it is manual, but because I have all of the previous order forms, it's just some VLOOKUPs and a few things like that where I pull in and match on item codes. And the only things that I have to manually really do any work on are second, third, fourth printings. And then if they add FOC variants, then I have to just put the key in the prices on those. So it's like a lot. It's less than an hour on a Friday, generally, if I can just sit down and do it.
Okay.
But the cool thing is, with the new website,
I
won't have to do nearly as much of that because the site will already have the information in it. So I don't have to go and match and look stuff up.
Oh, so we could have an online way to put in our orders for previews, or is that what you're saying? Is that what you're hinting at?
Yep.
Oh.
It will be monthly pre-orders, FOC, in stock, Kowabunga exclusives.
Wow.
You will be able to put in order for all of those at the same time, and it will intelligently know what to charge, when to charge, and how to charge. We're making a slight change to the way we handle shipping. So as of right now, you pay ahead for your shipping. And what we're going to do is you'll pay ahead for your books like you normally would. But your shipping, you'll get charged when the box ships. And what that does is it allows those people who go with weekly shipping but order a minimum amount of items, they're not going to be charged for 4 weeks of shipping if they're only getting 2 weeks of books. And vice versa for someone who gets their books monthly. On the second week, if they're like, man, I got a lot of stuff I really want to read, or I'm going on vacation, they can just hit the ship now, and it'll charge them for a drop ship, same price as a regular ship, and that box will get sent.
Oh.
Nice.
You'll also have other options.
It sounds like nobody, I don't think anybody offers anything like that. That sounds totally unique.
You'll have a couple other options too. So if you're shopping our in-stock inventory and say you're already a subscriber and you already get a box on a cadence, whether it's monthly, twice monthly, whatever, you can go through and order whatever you want out of our in-stock inventory. And rather than having to pay for shipping and get that sent, you can select to not pay for shipping and just have it sent with your next box of books on your cadence.
Nice. Very nice.
So
it sounds like you've put some thought into this.
Yeah.
5.5 years.
Or you've listened to customers.
5.5 years. 5.5 years. Yeah. It's been it has been a lot of work, a lot of requirements gathering, a lot of thinking. And it's kind of cool. And also the part that makes it take so long is that really comic book retailing in general breaks every conventional rule of retailing, and furthermore breaks every rule of e-commerce. So there's no platform out there that actually does what we need it to do. So it's scratch development. It's literally our system being designed for us. And it's actually the engineering firm that's doing the work. It's actually led to them publishing a few articles about how it's okay to break the e-commerce norms and make the site work. So it's been kind of cool for everyone involved. And I think the most validating thing about this is that the engineering firm that we have working on it is just as committed to it as I am. It's not just a paycheck for them. They're a smaller boutique firm, and they look at this as really their big mark on e-commerce industry, to basically say, like, look at what we're creating. So they're invested in it as heavily as we are, which is really, really, it's fun. It's very fun.
Oh, sounds great. So, kind of playing on that, you were mentioning, some timing and things. I was listening to another podcast I can't remember if it was a few weeks ago or a few months ago, but anyway, they were talking about there's like a cadence in the industry. Like there's certain months when you want to do trade paperbacks, certain months when you want to do miniseries, certain months when you want to launch number ones or times of the year and everything like that. I mean, does that come, do you see that coming about, from customer purchases or what the customer behavior, or is that more, that's what the publishers think, and so that's when they put out stuff and then the customers buy it, or is it just total
No,
hogwash?
it's validated based on consumer spending habits. The most obvious one is February. Commerce is dead in February because everybody's paying off the bills from Christmas. So that's one month where pretty much commerce dries up, which is often why you'll see, if you're into buying televisions, generally Black Friday is not the best time to buy a TV. Super Bowl Sunday is the best time to buy a TV because it's in the middle of that dead time and everybody wants to watch the Super Bowl. So that's February is the absolute worst time to launch anything. If you're a creator, as far as really any content goes, you don't see a lot of movie releases in February. You don't see a lot of book releases in February. It's just a bad month, and retail is always down. That's usually when we try and do a back issue sale to get people in and spending some money, because that's when the publishers aren't putting out as much as well. So you've got that. And then typically the summertime is when money moves the most because that's when people are vacationing. That's also when your blockbuster movies tend to come out, is kind of that May through August timeframe typically. And so they'll stagger and put out their books to match their movie launches. I mean, we're seeing like the Wonder Woman 84 covers are being delayed repeatedly by DC as they're delaying the Wonder Woman 84 movie. You see Black Widow was delayed, and then finally Marvel just said, we've got to put this book out, even though Black Widow is being delayed. So they try and cadence things like that, and it is repeatable. And you'll see, like I said, your big prestige hardcovers, your really expensive stuff. There's a lot of omnibus coming out from September through the middle of December. There's a ton of them because they're kind of a big Christmas present for people. If someone can't afford the $15,000 Amazing Fantasy 15, but they can afford the $100 Amazing Fantasy, 1 through 15 omnibus for $100, they're going to do that, and they're going to say, well, I couldn't get you the one, but hey, I got you this one. So yeah, it's validated on spending patterns, and that's kind of the way it goes in the industry.
Well, that kind of explains something that had confused Dennis and I, because I don't know if you remember, we used to do a previews once a month where we'd go through the previews catalog, and we would notice like the December previews catalog, which is for items released in February, was nothing. It was just nothing, and we couldn't figure out why there was nothing there.
Right. Yeah, and the other reason too, publishers will amp up things during the summer months because of con season. So they'll do books that they can launch and have a con variant, whether it's Emerald City, MegaCon, NYCC, C2E2. So you'll see a lot of launches that coincide, release dates will coincide with, convention. So you'll have a Wednesday release, and then the convention will be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they'll have a con exclusive cover for that number one. So that's another big part of it too. Why
Right.
the summer is really the make the hay.
Do you see? Because there's been some other just publishers that have gone away from Diamond as well. Alterna being one. I can't think of another off the top of my head. Do you think this may kind of become a trend? I mean, do you foresee Marvel getting away from Diamond or any of the other Image or any of the other big publishers?
Image and Marvel both came out and staunchly said they're sticking with Diamond. I don't think Marvel is inclined at all to make any sort of change after the fiasco they went trying to self-distribute. So I think I'm going to tackle half the question, then the other half. So the first half, I don't see Marvel and Image leaving Diamond. What I see is Marvel and Image challenging Diamond to do a better job, because there are certain things that for us UCS is doing better. We're getting our shipments. Diamond we get on Tuesday for Wednesday on sale. UCS we get typically on Thursday for the following Tuesday. So there's a challenge point there. We have less damages with UCS because UCS actually uses the boxes or a style of box that was similar to what Diamond used to use and shifted away from. Now we have thinner boxes from Diamond and they have more damages. And they're pain in the insert bad word here to tear down, but all that aside. So I think you're going to see the publishers challenging Diamond to step up to the plate and match the level of service. Now, to Diamond's credit, nobody else in the industry has the depth of product in the warehouses that they do. So they have their own inherent challenges. But as for folks like Alterna, I think there's two pieces we can use, maybe three. Alterna being one that has left Diamond, and TKO who never went to Diamond. And Scout. Scout is not leaving Diamond, but they're also offering distribution through another group. I think it's Plan C, I don't know, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But Alterna was in an interesting place. So Alterna titles were typically $150, and they were newsprint, and ultimately they were not good movers in our store. I'm not saying the stories were bad or the art was bad. They just didn't move for us. They didn't resonate with our readers. They didn't resonate with mail order either. And their discount that they offer through Diamond was very minimal. So you're taking, let's just use, for example, we'll just talk about a Marvel book versus an Alterna book. So Marvel, let's just say the industry standard discount is 50% on a $3.99 book. So let's just say we're paying $2 for it. We get $2 profit for it, unless we do a discount. So you have $2. If you're Alterna and it's a $1.50 book, they're giving us a 35% discount. So you've taken automatically you're starting at less than half the price of the Marvel, and then you're shrinking your discount down even smaller. So for us to move a copy of it, it almost doesn't pay the touch, right? The hand touch to move it, talk about it, and whatnot. And so that was the real struggle with Alterna, was that it wasn't as profitable to put on the shelf, so not as many stores got it, and the cost of distributing through Diamond got to be a little more than what Alterna was really wanting to pay, because for them, that's a lost cost. And so they've moved to a different distribution network, and for them, they're probably profiting more on their sales per issue, but I think that they've significantly lost sales because it's not a part of the Diamond system, which means it's not getting aggregated into your other products, which means you're not paying your collated and reduced price subsidized shipping. It's not part of the pull list system anymore that Diamond has, and it's not part of previews. And so if people can't see it, can't order it, can't get a discount for it, it's really hard to move it.
Right.
Now, the flip side of that is TKO, who never went to Diamond. But with TKO, they have a model that they came out with and they've stuck to. You get your 6 issues in the hard shell case, or
Right.
the paper shell case, or you get the trade, and you get both dropped at the same time. So you can either buy the set or you can buy the trade. And from day one, it's been okay. You can buy it from retail price from our website, or comic stores. You can get it from us. Here's your discount, and that's it. That's all there is to it. But they also carry big names: Jeff Lemire, Garth Ennis. are people who are going to sell books regardless. You could put them in the smallest, most obscure publishers you've ever heard of, but if you put those names on it, you're going to sell books. So they went out with a different distribution model. They brought the names in and paid for it. And I'm going to be honest, their product is great. The products arrived to us. We've had one box that came damaged, and we got it replaced 2 days later. They had it in our store replaced 2 days later,
Wow.
and they said, we can't do anything with the damaged ones. It would be a waste of money for you to send them back to us. So if you have a location that you can donate them to, please do. So we did. We donated them to, there's well, Jay, there's the mental health institute my wife works at that
Yes.
has everyone from juveniles to adults that are inpatient. So we donated it there and just said, here, add this to the reading library. It wasn't something that would set them off. We were very
Right.
careful about that. But I mean, it was very simple and easy. So two different ways of looking at different products. I don't know what the long-term outlook is for Alterna. I really have to give them a lot of props for trying what they did, going with the newsprint, going with the lower price to entry. I think that there was a lot of good that could come out of that. However, with the discounts that they offered, and they didn't really have any big creator names, that was really where the downfall was. There wasn't enough of a hook for a retailer to say, oh, I can make equal money on this like I can with a Marvel or a DC or an Image book. And there wasn't as big of a draw for consumers to say, oh, I know that creator. I want to read their stuff.
Right.
So
Interesting.
yeah. So and maybe to dovetail a little bit on that. What about Bad Idea?
Oh boy.
I've been trying. It's like Jay and I met through the whole Valiant thing. I'm a Valiant guy from back in '91. My first Valiant was I think Archer and Armstrong Zero, so I got right in at the Unity thing, and I got all the pre-Unity. I met most of my guys from CE2, E2, and all that I'm friends with now. My comic buddies through Valiant and all that. So I love the relaunch. I love Dinesh and all that, but I just can't figure out this whole Bad Idea thing.
Yeah, from the surface, it sounds like it's a bad idea. It took us a little while to be able to talk with them. It's not their problem. It was just our schedules didn't overlap, and actually, thankfully, COVID happened, so our schedules kind of cleared up, and we could. So we will. We've got our paperwork signed and sent in, so we will be able to offer Bad Idea product. It is a different model. It's a very unique and different model. I did get the approval that I can go ahead and sell them through mail order. Originally, they weren't going to allow that. It was going to be physical in-store only, but I was granted the full go ahead. So that's great. It's a different setup.
What's
the buying patterns?
I mean, I'm just trying to. I mean,
yeah.
they're, I don't know if they're trying to appeal to the collector, to the reader, or most stuff. I can sit there and figure out what their angle is. I can't figure out Bad Idea's angle.
Well, see, on the surface, kind of with the early rhetoric they put out, it seemed like they were really gearing towards the people, not gearing towards the people who want to get this cover so they can bag and board it and flip it on eBay. That they were trying to appeal to the hardcore. I want to buy a comic and read it and enjoy it. That seemed to be what they were doing.
But if you want to do that, you're supposed to make it easy for them to get.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. So, I think their end game is that they want to draw people into comic stores. That's their end game. Their end game is to increase foot traffic to comics. However, in doing so and in ramping up their business, I think they conceived of ways for themselves to be able to remain profitable or break even as they go through these creation phases, and maybe didn't look so much at what's the cost to the industry. And by that, I mean offering to only 50 stores to start instead of the nearly 3,000 stores that are out there. It wasn't like they just were going to offer to the 50 largest stores. It was just the first 50 stores. And that is a little bit of a problem because that doesn't allow equal access to the product. So one of the things that they truly hate is speculator, and they hate the multiple variants, and they hate all of that. And I don't think they realize that by limiting their launches and their releases, all they were going to do was feed a speculator market. They weren't going to get the
Yes.
readers that wanted to read the titles. All they were going to do was get that. But then you kind of got to stop and think, was that the mechanism they want to use to get their brand name out there? Did they want the speculator market to go crazy and for Bad Idea to pop up on Comic Book Invest, CBSI, all of those sites where I was like, oh my God, all these books are keys? I don't know. What we hear from them is that they don't like speculators. They want it to be a draw to the comic store. Their actions to start kind of seemed a little weird. COVID has changed all of that. They were not fully guaranteed that we're going to be in wave one of the launches, but we've been guaranteed that we will get the product that is in the wave one launch. So we may not get the first couple of number ones the day they come out, but we will be able to get those number ones as time goes forward. So, and the things that they're doing with printings and how they'll continue to make sure there's stock and that it won't be a different cover. It will just, on the inside, it will just, the first printings will say first printings and the rest will say, subsequent printing. So there's some things that they're doing that I think are good. It's going to be interesting, and we won't know how it fully looks until the whole thing plays out. But it was also kind of a weird thing to come up during. You've got DC leaving, you've got Diamond shutting down, you've got this obscure Bad Idea thing, which, like I said, it sounds like a bad idea. Maybe it won't be, I don't know. But we're going to go for it. We're going to give it a go. Dinesh, Adam, they're people that we trust. They're industry people who have put out great products in the past. Adam has always been a huge champion of the retail stores. He started as a retailer or working in a retail store, so he gets it. So we have a lot of faith in them as people, and therefore we trust that they're going to come through on their end of the bargain. But it's definitely going to be a weird and different road for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about the speculators, and it sounds just, what was it? They had an ash can that came out like a few weeks ago, and it just seems to just ended up with the speculators. It's like, I would have really loved to have got that, but there was no chance I was going to get that.
I had a handful of people who are customers that all reached out and said, "Hey, did you get this?" And no, we didn't. We wish to God we would have, but we didn't. And I think that's a shame. I think that's a real. That's the risk you run, is how many people will that turn off? Even though Bad Idea is just starting, there's a lot of people that view Bad Idea as a continuance of that era of Valiant. And does not getting this first Bad Idea book kind of almost mean like you've cut the cord off of that Valiant stuff, and you can't keep full run of the books going forward with Bad Idea, and you're missing stuff? Does that invalidate your Valiant runs that you have? So it's just kind of a weird, really weird place to be.
Agreed. So.
See if it's a bad idea, I guess, is the long and short of it. We'll end up seeing how it all plays out in the long run. And I also think that part of their goal is similar to Aftershock. The idea is to really be a multimedia company and use comics as your IP farm, test out your potential properties and go from there. So we'll see. Maybe they hit it and they're done, and they've got what they need and they go forward.
Yeah, I mean, okay, let's shift over to Aftershock. I mean, I think that's what they initially was, but I mean, I've gotten a lot of their stuff, early stuff, and everything like that. I've kind of backed off a bit on their more recent stuff because it seems to get a little bit repetitive for me, and I'm more of a series guy, not the mini series. You get 5 issues of this, and then you never have it again. So that's just my mentality on the comics and everything like that. But I mean, is Aftershock doing well in the store or with readers and everything still?
Yeah, they've held very, very steady, and I think that's being bolstered now. It was, I think, maybe a week or 2 weeks ago, they signed an agreement with Rive Gauche, whatever the production company is. The group that they've done a number of TV shows. I think the biggest ones that I know of are My Strange Addiction and Dog Whisperer with Caesar Milan, but they've done some other horror type TV shows. But they've actually signed an agreement with a media production company. So that end game is coming to fruition, and one of the things that they're going to be putting out first is God Country by Donny Cates. So yeah, there's definitely some really good opportunity with Aftershock, and there's been a lot of customers getting Aftershock books and sticking with them. So, and I know like I think we're the only group out there that offers an Aftershock bundle. If you get all of them, you get a pretty good discount through us, and it's nice because their catalog is usually 10 issues at most per month, so it's fairly affordable. Similar to a Valiant one where a typical Valiant one where you've got 6 to 10 ongoing titles.
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually falling into like the Vault fan club right now. I really love everything Vault's putting out, and they seem to be, I don't know, growing their issues out every month that they're putting out more and more. Them and I had the company and I can't think of it now.
Vault
Ahoy.
and Scout seem to be doing the best right now. Yeah, Ahoy hasn't had much lately. I don't know if the pandemic's kind of screwed up their printer or what's going on, but for me, what I'm noticing with mail order, the big ones right now are from the back half, I guess, the non-premier publishers. The big ones are Aftershock, Vault, Scout, and then their premier publisher, but Boom continues to build steam month after month after month with their books. So
what do you recommend from Scout? I don't actually think I'm reading anything from Scout right now.
I have to admit, I don't get a lot of comics because I spend all my time working on them. I get collected editions.
All right. Well, so let's transition. So actually, let me ask you that. Well, I got 2 questions now going, and they're totally non-related, but they're related in my head because they're comics. So I'm going to ask you first. Do you ever get anybody that comes in with in a collection or something with bound comics? Or what's your opinion on bound comics?
So, have we ever had people come in with bound comics? I think we've gotten one bound volume of comics since we've had the store. And my view of it is whatever you want to do. It's your stuff. Do I want to see an ASM 129 bound? No. That will kind of hurt me somewhere deep down. But if you want to get, pick a Legends of the Dark Knight. If you want to get that full run bound into hardcover volumes, go for it. There's tons of those out there. They're at an affordable price. I think they're usually anywhere from $1.99 to $2.49 is about the most expensive. You should see those books in good condition. Yeah, by all means, I'm all for it if it makes sense. I strongly oppose the idea of custom binding high value keys, just because it shreds the value of it. And I know some people say, well, the value to me is reading it. Think an Epic Collection. Pay $40 to get your Epic Collection if that's what you want. Because that things like your first Punisher or whatever book it's gonna be, your FF48 for Silver Surfer Galactus. It's just not a wise idea. But ultimately it's your book. If you want to do it, you do it. It may hurt me, but do what you want to do. But yeah, there's a lot of titles that I think if you want to do it, I think it's a great little piece to have. It's custom to what you want it to be, which is cool. I personally, I don't plan on doing any of that, mostly because, well, one, I have access to way more than I need, and secondly, I kind of like the uniformity. Like I keep looking over off screen. It's not that I'm being distracted. It's that I have all of my Marvel Omnibus and Epics are on my shelves that you can't see. And I just love the way they look. I love how uniform Marvel books are, how the dress is all the same. And so I like keeping that consistency. But I don't have any issue with it.
So you're sitting there talking about everything on your shelf right there. So do you have the floppy versions of them also? So you've double dipped?
Some of them I've triple dipped. What have I? I'm trying to think. I know there's 1 or 2 things that I've quadruple dipped. I have Crisis on Infinite Earths floppies. I have the Crisis on Infinite Earths first hardcover slipcase edition, which has the misprint. I have the Crisis on Infinite Earths trade paperback, and I have the Crisis on Infinite Earths Absolute, or whatever the large size one is. So that's one that I have. Why the Last Man I have in singles, trades, hardcovers, and omnibus. And Batman, Tim Sale, Jeff Loeb, I have all of those. The Long Halloween, Dark Victory, I have all of those in singles, trades, and the omnibus. So I have favorites. However, most of the time, if I get a collected edition of something, I generally will get rid of my single issues of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be something special that I'm going to keep. So I have a few characters that are very important to me. Obviously, Nightwing, Doctor Strange, Silver Surfer. So those I will pretty much keep forever. And then I have like things that aren't going to be republished. So I have my DC versus Marvel single issues. I have my JLA Avengers single issues. I have the slipcase hardcover edition of JLA Avengers. I'll never get rid of that. So things like that I will keep, but other things I won't. I'll just get rid of the single issues and keep the trade hardcover. Because usually I use the single issues. Typically, I would use the single issues to kind of gauge my level of passion for something. And if I like it enough, I want to get the collected edition, then I just like the content. So most of my single issues are things I either don't have collected editions of yet, or they're older books that are more investment or valuable. So.
Oh, are you seeing people shift more to the trade weight and getting collected editions as opposed to getting the monthly floppies?
No, it's kind of a hit or miss. I'm actually starting to see more people doing what I'm doing, where they're getting the singles. If they like it enough that they want to get it and put it on a bookshelf, then they'll make a decision: do I get rid of the singles, or do I keep them and I get the collected edition? So it's also I've also started to see a lot of people who will want to all the single issues of a specific creator, and then they'll also get the hardcover. So Donny Cates is a great example. I want all the Donny Cates single issues, but then I'm going to get the hardcovers of the Donny Cates Venom or the Donny Cates Thor or whatever it is, so that I can put those on my shelf, because that's like my favorite run ever. And that's kind of how I am with Why the Last Man. That is that's my favorite. My favorite run of all time so far. I read it every year, and I love having those hardcovers on my shelf and the trades and the omnibus. And people are like, boy, you sure seem to like that series. And actually, it's the same thing 3 times over. So.
Oh yeah, that's one of my all-time favorites. I got the floppies. I don't have any of the collections. I got the floppies. I got them out when they came out on the shelf. I mean, my favorite of all time is Preacher. Oh God, I love Preacher.
Yep.
And I've got the floppies. I've got a few of the trades, but so yeah, I can totally appreciate that. So kind of getting on those lines. Oh, actually, I keep having 2 questions. I can't ever get down to one. So earlier, maybe about an hour ago, I think I remember hearing something about Kowabunga exclusives. Can you talk about that, or is that later?
Yeah.
To be
we've got a couple of exclusives that we've done. So we had a Jimmy's Bastards #4, which was an Aftershock book. It's Garth Ennis writing. Phil Hester did the exclusive cover for us, and Eric Gabster did the inking. That was to coincide with our Garth Ennis in-store signing that we had. We actually had Garth Ennis, Phil Hester, and Eric Gabster were all there. And then because Garth was there, we got the weirdest phone call, like just out of the blue on a Thursday. Picked up the phone, and here on the other line, other end of the line, is this the comic store that's going to have Garth Ennis coming in like 4 days? And we were like, yeah. Is there anything that we can do? This is Brian Azar. If I crash the party and just hang out,
Wow.
yeah. And
Wow.
we could not hang up the phone quick enough so that we could call Diamond, and we're like, we need to overnight some books here ASAP. And so we were able to get, and that was right when the hardcover of the Dark Knight Race 3, when that whole thing came out with the Frank Miller Azzarello written story in the hardcover. So we got a whole case of those. We got cases of other stuff, but it was that was a pretty cool event to have those guys hanging out there. So we've done that one. We did. Oh, my mind is going blank. Oh, we did a Bloodshot exclusive for the current ongoing Bloodshot series that Tim Seeley is writing, and it's actually Tim Seeley's art. We have a color version of it basically, and then I asked if we could get like a black and white, and it was kind of funny because the Valiant folks were like, well, I mean, do you want just like the lines? And I said, no, just send me the art. I'll doctor up what I'm thinking, and I'll send it back to you as like a prototype or a proof. And I sent it back to them, and what I did was, I don't know if you guys saw it, it was the gray shade shot, and then the chest circle and his eyes, I had those as bright red. And I said, we were thinking like this. Can we do a short run of this? And they're like, as long as Tim's cool with it, yeah. So Tim signed off on it, and unbeknownst to me, they just took the file that I gave them, and that's what they printed. So
Oh, nice. So do you get credit?
yeah, I
book?
didn't get any credits, but it was mine.
Royalties,
and then-
royalties.
Right, I'm missing out. No,
So-
so that was cool. We have that one as well, and then we've got another upcoming one slated with Valiant coming up in I believe it's going to be February. Can't talk about that one yet.
That's fine. So
Nice.
if you do these exclusives, and it sounds like the covers and all that, do you get the original art?
So for the Sealy one, it was digital, so we don't have that art. But for the Jimmy's Bastards, yes, we do have the original art for that. Mhm.
Nice, nice. So that's a requirement if you get a store exclusive, right? You get the original art.
You got to pay for it. You pay for them to do the art, and then you got to pay for the original art.
Oh, double dip.
Because the page rate for the cover is usually it's not cheap depending on who it is, but the idea is they're pricing it as if they were selling the work and then selling the art, so that they make their income. So with the next cover that we're doing, it may end up being 2 covers, which might be for the better, because otherwise James and I will have a very heated wrestling match to figure out who's going to get the original art. So,
Oh, I
the
thought
artist
y'all
is a
already,
personal favorite of ours.
yeah, I thought y'all already did that for that Jenny Frizen Wonder Woman y'all got.
No, I got one. He got the next issue after that.
Okay.
I've got that. It's over there.
I keep looking at that on the
And
website.
then actually for the Phil Hester signing event, I can't get my finger. Was the Nightwing that Phil Hester did for me for that signing event. So
Oh, nice,
Wow.
nice. Yeah, I keep looking at Jenny Frizen's Wonder Woman. She's still got some covers up on the site she uses to sell her stuff, and I'm like, I'm so
Kate's
tempted.
comic
I'm
art
so tempted.
for anyone who's looking.
Yeah, I keep telling my wife, it's like, maybe I want that for my birthday this year or something like that. Mm.
You can't go wrong
So-
with it. It's beautiful, and I think pretty much all the pieces except for the cover that I have are you actually get 2 for the price
Yes.
of 1. Because she does the lines and then she does the graphite shading separately. But for the cover that I got, it was all on 1 because she did it for an art exhibit. So it's in its art exhibit frame, and it's just the shading on line work on it, but it's like double size compared to all the others. Because most of the time it's like a 14 by 10 or something is the size paper she uses. But the one I have it's big. So.
Okay. So, I guess another store question. We keep asking you about store questions as opposed to this comics and everything. But I'm just curious to, like, do collections just walk in, or do you actually go out and look for collections or dig for collections? Or I'm just curious how that, because I've been in the stores, and somebody walks in, they got a few comics. It's from the '90s. It's got a shiny cover, and they think it's all worth something and all that. But then you have these, I guess these collections of, like, some guy, and he's got all this, the Marvel Silver Age stuff and everything like that, but he didn't know what they were and everything like that. I mean, is that active, or did they just walk in?
Both. Actually, it happens in 4 ways. So people do bring in collections, usually weekly. We get a collection that walks in the door. That's one way. People generally will call ahead. That's the most common, where they'll call ahead and say, I've got some comics. Are you interested in buying them? The third way is we will find a collection through talking with other people, whether it's friends that we have, family members, whatever it is. And then the fourth one is we will go out to certain locations and look for books and find them. I don't want to give away all of our sources, but I will say that today, James and I spent 2 hours at one of our local competitor stores and walked out with a short box full of things. So they can
Wow.
be found everywhere.
Nice.
Yeah. When I was traveling a bit 2 or 3 years ago, I had a honey hole, so to speak, on one of my travels where they just
Yep.
they would, I don't know if it was auctions or they got stuff from thrift stores or something, but they just had boxes, long boxes and long boxes and long boxes and there was stuff they just never hadn't even gone through. And I would just go through it and I'd pull it up. It's like, what do you want for this? What do you want for this? What do you want for this? And they would just shoot out a number. It's like, okay. That's where I found my first, and Jay's gonna get ill with me, my first second print newsstand Batman 457.
That I now possess.
Because I found a second Batman second print 457 newsstand.
At a higher grade.
Someone's got to find them, and you just got to share the love. It's just how it works.
Yeah, it's just, but yeah, so that's got to be, I don't know, what's the, and you don't have to get the details and everything, but or not too many, but it's like, what's the most awe-inspiring collection that's walked into the shop, or item, or maybe item?
Well, I mean, aside from an Action 1, a Detective 27, and an AF-15, we've had pretty much most of the big ones come in. We haven't had the first Joker. I don't think we haven't had the first Robin. But other than that, we've pretty much, I mean, we've had, I think at this point now, 6 Amazing Spider-Man 1s come into the store. We've had an FF1, we've had Giant Size multiple times, we've had X-Men 1. So, I mean, we've had a lot of the big ones. I would say probably the single most impressive collection that we had come in was it came with a few Amazing Spider-Mans, early Amazing Spider-Mans. It didn't come with a 1, but it came with some single digits. But there also was a straight run of Daredevil from 1 to 47. It also had a straight run of, what was the other Marvel title? It had 2 Marvel straight runs. It had some Spideys, and it had it was just a ton of early Marvel stuff, and it was all in like 8.5 or better condition. Just incredible. I mean, just incredible books. Yeah, so I mean, like, we've had a couple of those come in. Usually, though, we don't see those mega collections that come in with, like, straight runs of Silver Age DC, like 16 long boxes full of. You just don't see that. It's generally like tends to come in Rubbermaid totes when it's that kind of stuff, and it's just hodgepodge. It's just whatever they grabbed off of the spinner rack at the 7-Eleven or 5 and Dime, whatever it was. So, but yeah, we've had some good ones come in. I think probably one of the other impressive ones that we got, complete other end of the spectrum. Not so many of the like super high, $400, $500, $600, $700 books, but we had a collection that was 36 long boxes that came in, and it was all moderns, but the person was an Adam Hughes and an Alex Ross collector. So all of the big Hughes covers, all of the Catwomans, all of the Power Girls, I mean, they were all there, all the ratio variants, everything. So we had all of those, and he was a straight run collector for certain titles. So we had like all the Birds of Prey, every single issue, like 9-8 grades. We had all of the well, all of the Catwomans, especially the Hughes covered ones, all Star Wars books, from Dark Horse, from the start of Dark Horse all the way through into the Marvel stuff. So I mean, like, it was just straight runs, bagged and boarded, perfect condition, tons of those ratio variants. The Supergirl, the Legion of Supergirl ratio, 1 in
The low,
25.
yeah, the
Yep.
low
Yep.
25. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. She's sitting on the Adam Hughes sitting
Yep.
on the asteroid.
hmm
That's like $1,000 book now in a 9.8, or maybe even more now.
Yep.
Ah,
It's over
that's
there.
a beautiful book. That's a beautiful book. Did he get a D&D collection that had a TMNT one in it?
Yep. Yeah, we've had a number of TMNT ones. I think we've had 5 or 6 TMNT ones, 2 first prints, and then some later prints. Yeah, we just got a first appearance of Batgirl that came in a collection with some other early DC books.
Ooh, what shape's it in?
There's one DC book that has no, that hasn't eluded us. We got a detached Flash 123, which is the Flash of Two Worlds, the first of the multiverse. But it was detached. We haven't had a complete copy of that come in yet. We've had a number of 181s come in, Hulk 181s, that is. We've had some ASM 129s. So I mean, we've had a lot of big books come in.
So Wisconsin's a hotbed for comics?
Yes, and it always has been, because a lot of the Dell and Gold Key books are actually printed in Racine, which is about 45 minutes from us. So there's always been a really strong comics culture here. Now, Gold Key and the Classics Illustrated books obviously don't command the value that a Marvel and a DC does, but as a cultural thing, it's there. What I do find really interesting is that we have a gentleman who sets up at conventions. He doesn't have a store, but he sets up at conventions, and he loves buying Dell and Gold Key books. And like, we get them in all the time, and you can't give Classics Illustrateds away out here. And so he'll buy them from us for a really good price for him, and we got something out of it. And he'll take them to Emerald City Comic Con, and people pay $5 to $10 a piece for them. We can't give them away out here, but it's because they're so limited out there. So it's really interesting how the economy works, and where things kind of originate from, and everything. So and it's actually the same people that printed Dell and Gold Key. When Dell and Gold Key kind of waned, they started printing Reader's Digest. So you're welcome.
Wow.
Oh, so you get a few Turok Son of Stones, whatever that first appearance is.
Yep.
Dell
Yep.
4-color. I forget what it is now.
Yep, we get some of those that come in. A lot of funny books, a lot of the different kids funny books, the animal funnies that come in as well. And those they don't have a significant value here, because there's just so many of them. So we get a lot of those too.
Well, I guess I'm going to have to go to that part of the store next time I'm up there.
Most of the time, those we don't even put in the store because they don't sell. So remind me, and we'll pull them out of the back for you.
Okay. I've got a soft spot for a few Dells, so it's getting back to when I was growing up. We didn't have a comic store, but I also got my uncle's comics, which were all from the '60s. So it was a bunch of Dell, a few DC and everything. It wasn't that much Marvel, but it's like, I mean, the Lassies, the Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. My uncle ended up getting like a lot of the Dells that were on the TV and the movie properties.
Sure.
So, and they were in syndication in the '70s when I was growing up. So I remember watching them all that. So it all is tied together. So it was great and everything like that. So
we also see a lot of people bring in the old Roy Rogers and all that kind of stuff too. So yeah, we get it all.
Nice. So what else you got, Jay? I don't know. We're keeping Eric up and everything like that. So
I'll go as long as you want.
We've caught through most of what I put together for talking points.
Oh, come on! You got to have some other questions. Come on! You've let me do all the talking. You've been sitting there drinking your beer, just listening alone.
Well,
I know you got some.
No, I don't really. Other than, well, you kind of talked about it. I mean, but you got the big online presence coming up.
Yeah.
Kind of what else might be in the future for Kowabunga? It's like, where do you hope to see Kowabunga 5 years from now? I guess.
Yeah, sure. So we've got some pretty big, lofty goals. From the outset, we always said we wanted to make the store a destination, and we know that there's limitations to being too aggressive and being reckless, but we've always had the desire to sort of emulate the Mile High model. One of the things that may have people that are listening may have seen are Dan Shaheen, I think is the guy's name, who does interviews on YouTube Live. And one of the things that he had done was he had interviewed some comics retailers, and he had 3 or 4 folks on. One of them was Chuck Rosansky from Mile High, and the others on the panel were uh, people that don't do back issues. And from day one, we knew that back issues were going to be really a backbone for us because they are typically a higher margin than your new comics. And once you own them, and you own them in perpetuity forever. And you know what the story is, you know what the characters are, and they're not going away. Previews can put whatever they want in it, but if Diamond shuts down, you got no more product. So we definitely seek to continue to build out our backlog of books. I think we're going to become much more aggressive in our purchasing, not regionally but nationally. We're making plans to start actually traveling to farther edges of the U.S. to acquire collections. You'll also see us vending at larger shows. I mean, we've done Wizard shows. This next year will be our first C2E2. We're planning on actually vending there potentially. We'll see. We'll see. There's no guarantees there. Chicago is very weird because of their labor unions and the cost you have to go into for that. So we're on the fence. But we actually had paid for our booth for Heroes Con last year, and that was canceled. We do have designs to go to Emerald City, to MegaCon, and to some conventions up in Minneapolis. So in 5 years, I think we're going to be a more regular player on the national con circuit, the large con circuit. We have designs on continuing to build out the mail order service, and we do have our eyes on some additional property that we can either rent or accumulate or purchase to allow us more space. Current facility is 4,500 square feet. We've already leased out an additional 150 square feet next to us. We're in discussions to get another almost 1,000 square feet just on the adjacent building. So we're expanding pretty rapidly, and I think we're going to get to a point where we want to just have a singular facility that can handle all of that in one. So whether it's a warehouse type feel or something like that. And I think we want to assert ourselves on a national scale more than what we do now. So right now, it's pretty much all word of mouth marketing. It's podcasts. It's basically word of mouth. Friends telling friends like, "Hey, check out Kowabunga," and we want to be kind of one of those household names where we're tossed around with the Midtowns, the DCBSs, the Lone Stars, the Mile Highs. We want to be up there. So there's a lot of aggressive plans, but we're also taking realistic bites at them. We're not just going to go, headlong into a crazy decision. It kind of ties in how we pay for our comics. So a lot of stores will leverage credit when they buy their comics, and they will basically use 2 weeks ago sales to pay for, the comics that they have. We've never really aligned to that. We prefer to just pay up front for it, so we have it. It's ours. It's fixed, and we're going to take the same approach as we grow. We already have additional resources kind of on standby that are interested in working for us, and when our volume and our scale hits a certain point where we need to add people, whether it's mail order or processing collections, whatever it is, they're there waiting for their chance. So we have that going for us as well. And I think the other thing too is we're not going to go crazy into the exclusives like a Scorpion Comics where they're doing 2, 3, 4 covers from different artists per week. That's not a game that we want to get into per se, but we do have a few publishers that we really value the commitment they've made to us. Valiant being one of them. Valiant from day one has been a massive supporter of us. They want to help us promote our website. They want to help us promote our site, and they provide us opportunities to do exclusive covers for them that work well for us and our client base. So we will continue to do that as well, maybe expand a little bit more, but we're not going to go too crazy and deep into that. So I don't know if that answers the question, but that's kind of where we as a business see ourselves wanting to push in the next few years.
That sounds very aggressive. But great.
It is aggressive, but we started with 1,300 square feet of retail space, and in 6.5 years we have, our sales are up a massive amount by factors of 10 from where they were when we first bought the business. Our square footage has quadrupled since we started. So we've been successful at making aggressive plays calculated, I guess is the best way I could say it. Everything that we do is not just an off the cuff, but we want to push. We want to push ourselves to be the best and do the best that we can, and still remain humble. I'll be honest. I make mistakes all the time. There's little hiccups here and there with mail order stuff, but the thing that's most important to us is we resolve it as quickly as possible and make sure that whatever the issue is, we've mitigated it and we've taken it on. So if something arrives damaged, we're going to get you the right copy. If I don't have it in-house, I'm going to go get it for you because I made the commitment to give it to you. And that's just kind of the way we view business. I don't know if it's an upper Midwestern thing or what it is, but you've put your faith in us and I want to return that to you. So we're going to use that as our guiding post.
Very good.
There you go. Great.
So if somebody wants to become a Kowabunga mail order customer, they would send you an email.
That's probably the best way. It's Eric, E-R-I-C, at kowabungacomics.com. Hey, look at that. They've already got it in the chat. Yep, so that's the best way. The other option is, if that's too long of an email to remember, look us up on Google. You can give us a call in the store, and they are more than able to take your number if I'm not there and make sure that I get it, and we can get in touch with you. There's some options out there to get on our mailing list for the monthly pre-order catalog and the weekly FOC. And I don't know, should I spill the beans of what the new web URL is going to be? Should this be the first place it gets announced?
That, or you can just you got your own podcast. Do you want to steal your thunder from that?
It's going to be deepdiscountcomics.com.
Deepdiscountcomics.com.
Deepdiscountcomics.com. So that will be the new website when it's up and live. We're going to hopefully be hitting beta testing this weekend. So fingers crossed in the next couple of weeks. It is 100% go time. But yeah, so those are the different ways you can get a hold of us.
I guess did I spell it right?
Yep.
Deep Discount. There you go. All right.
Yep.
So we'll be able to start ordering in about beta usually lasts about 3 or 4 days, and we're good to go, right?
Something like that. Yeah. So no, it's going to be really exciting. We're gonna start off with obviously the monthly pre-orders and the active FOC stuff, and we'll be throwing in stock items as rapidly as we can. We actually hired on a new guy who is going to be helping us get that inventory built out online. So we're going to be continuing our path of growth and really working. So.
Oh, sounds exciting. So maybe you can eventually make this your 60-hour-a-week job?
I think it's already my 60-hour week job. Maybe I can reduce my working week from 100 to 60 hours. It's one of those things where we hear a lot of people who've been doing comics for a long time, and they get really disgruntled about it. And they start to dislike the whole genre, the whole thing. And for James and I think we've done a really good job of trying to keep it in check. We've never actually made this our main bread and butter. And I think that really helps because we have our regular jobs that pay us, and this is really just a hobby and a passion project. And we can pour as much in as we want, but at the end of the day, our houses are still stable, our families are still fine, and I think that's what really separates it for us. So I don't know if it'll ever just become my full time. I don't know if I could do that, and I have to I just have to throw this out here. Anyone that does this kind of stuff knows that you can't do it without incredibly supportive and understanding. Maybe not always understanding, but accepting spouse or significant other.
Right.
Both James and I are blessed with wives who understand that we have a problem, and they would rather us have our problem outside of the house and with another safe person than than just be problematic at home. So we're very lucky, we're very blessed, and we're really blessed to have the customers that we do. You guys are phenomenal. You were probably on the earlier end of our customers, and I appreciate you guys being champions of us. That means the world. That tells us that we're doing something right. So for those of you that are customers out there, thank you. For those that aren't, you can still leverage us to look at what's out there for FOCs. I send the FOC out through our mail program to 3 times the amount of people that I have that are customers. It's a resource. Use it as a resource. I'm doing the work the same way either way. You might as well leverage it. And if there's ever a time where you miss a book or you can't get it, always feel free to reach out. The worst I can tell you is I don't have it. The best I can say is it's in the mail tomorrow.
Nice.
Great. Yes. No, we appreciate it. Yeah, and then I guess I just have to get a shout out. I don't know him or anything, but I think I first heard about Kowabunga from Comics for Fun and Profit. So that's a fun podcast I listen to every Saturday and everything like that. And I think that's where I first heard about Kowabunga. And I think that's where I got the email. And when I first got the email, that might have been 1.5 years, 2 years ago now.
At least it might be longer. Yeah, I was gonna say I can actually go back in here and tell you when your first book shipped.
Oh, the data's at the fingertips.
It is just a couple of filters away, and I'll be very happy when I don't have to filter it in a series of spreadsheets. Your first books that arrived in the store were March 4th, 2018.
There you go. Oh, it has been more than 2 years.
Yeah. Wow. Time flies when you're having fun.
Exactly. Well, hopefully we get a C2E2. If not, we'll make our own little con. And
Yep.
I always have to ask Jay, how do you pronounce it?
Oconomowoc?
Oconomowoc. The 5 O's. Did James tell you the story of how, or the legend of how it got its name?
No.
I don't know if I've heard that.
No. Okay, so. It's not 100% politically correct, so excuse it for its time period that it came from. All right. So the story is that a settler had captured an Indian, a Native American, and was walking him along. He's riding his horse, and the Indian's kind of being drug along behind him, so to speak, or walking along. And it was dry, it was hot, like a typical Wisconsin summer can get in the middle, just kind of crappy and no rain. And the Indian at one point just dropped to his knees and said, "Oconomowoc." And that was how we got our name. I don't think that's true, but that's the legend that we hear. And a lot of that dovetails in with the fact that everything around us is indigenous names, from Oconomowoc to Waukesha, you name it. We've got them all.
Sounds good.
Great.
Well, Eric, we can't thank you enough for taking time
this was fun. I enjoyed this greatly. So anytime you want me to kill some time with you guys, I'm more than happy to be the rest.
Oh, we'll be glad to. And hopefully at some point, I know you guys have little time, but your own podcast, the Kowcast, is now coming out through the Nerdy Legion Network. So if you looking out at the website, you'll see Kowcast in the future. So we look forward to that.
Yes, and I apologize to Martin. We've started getting stuff transitioned over, and we hit a stopping point, and then with the website, I've completely lost it. So we will be fully on the Nerdy Legion platform. We just decided we wanted to be with a group of other strong podcasts that we kind of align with, both ideologically, just the way that the podcasts are run, and to provide a more stable platform than what we have currently. So we're really excited about it.
Okay, well, we look forward to seeing that pretty soon. Anyway, well, that's all I had.
All right, well, sign us out, Jay, because I've had a little bit too much whiskey.
You've been watching and listening to Best of the Rest. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can tweet the podcast at BOTR Comics. You can reach me at jforgets.
And I'm at Oot Inger.
And I will also put Eric's email and the new website in the show notes when I put this out, publish this out on podcast. So,
Yeah, but the website might not be there for a few weeks.
well, I understand, but
Pardon our dust.
you can just
Yeah.
keep looking until I get.
You can bookmark it and just check it every hour.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just set a little procedure to run and do a refresh.
So,
Nice.
thanks everyone, and good evening.